When are these people going to learn? Let's take a trip over to the old Wikipedia and look at the page titled The Streisand Effect. Named after American entertainer Barbra Streisand, the Streisand effect is the phenomenon whereby an attempt to hide, remove, or censor a piece of information has the unintended consequence of publicizing the information more widely. Apparently, Barbra Streisand was trying to hide pictures of her Malibu mansion, which, of course, stirred up public interest in pictures of her Malibu mansion. But the lesson here is clear. If you hate Milo Yiannopoulos, stop raging and start ignoring. Milo got a book deal? I better spread the message of his book all over the internet so everyone will hate it, just like me. No, try this instead. So Milo got a book deal. Well, I dislike him, so instead of looking into this more, I'll move along with my day. A lot of people are particularly mad with the size of this deal, a reported $250,000 advance from publisher Simon & Schuster. Well, you know why the deal is so lucrative? It's because people who rage about it grab the attention of people like me who are now way more interested in it just because it pisses you off than we would have been if you would have just said nothing at all. And the potency of that Streisand effect is directly proportional to the power and the influence of those seeking suppression. Nobody really cares if it's just a few Twitter eggs who are mad about it, but if big-name media players feed the outrage fire, they create massive public interest in the thing they want to go away. A New Yorker author writes, "Publishing him is a cynical move by Simon & Schuster, one worth protesting vociferously, and specifically in emails, letters, tweets, and phone calls, you name it." Yep. She looks exactly like the type of person who would call for vociferous email and tweet resistance to injustice. A CNN author writes, "This is the real storyline of Milo's book deal. Far from being mischievous, Milo is a barometer for the far rightward shift and expansion of the conservative movement in America to elevate figures that traffic in violent speech." Traffic in violent speech. I wish this author would give a speech in violent traffic. Even the Chicago Review of Books says, "In response to this disgusting validation of hate, we will not cover a single Simon & Schuster book in 2017. A disgusting validation of hate, you say? Well, that's the first time one of your reviews has convinced me. And sold. As hilariously self-defeating as these writings are, I can't say they surprise me. Coming from elitist media types. People who believe that free speech and what they personally consider to be hate speech are two different and easily separable things. People who believe that there's a such thing as an idea unfit for public circulation. People who believe that they, and not the market, or the negotiating parties should determine the value of a book deal. What does surprise me is to see similar perspective expressed from a comedian, someone whose livelihood is built upon illustrating the absurdities of life in an exaggerated or provocative way, even if it means occasionally hurting someone's feelings. Cue Sarah Silverman, who offered the following on this topic. "The guy has freedom of speech, but to fund him and give him a platform tells me a lot about Simon & Schuster. Yuck and boo and gross." Yes, that's comic Sarah Silverman lecturing us about what's too gross for public consumption. Gross like the digestive reaction she joked about having after sex with a Hispanic person.
I think I did something about blowing a Mexican and having diarrhea for a week.
The same Sarah Silverman who dressed up as Hitler last spring, the same Sarah Silverman who wore blackface on her show.
"I look like the beautiful Queen Latifah."
In an episode where her co-star also wore Jew face. Now, to be clear, I have a problem with none of that as a matter of speech, and you can decide if you find it funny or not, or if you want to watch it or not. What I do have a problem with is a comedian virtue signaling from high atop moral mountain, as though the things she says and the things Milo says are night and day different, one clearly right and one clearly wrong. Sarah says times change, that she's had some type of moral awakening. But I'm not so sure times do change all that much. Thanks to a viewer, I found this debate between Sarah Silverman and a few anti-racism activists on Bill Maher's old show, Politically Incorrect. It aired August 22nd, 2001, and what's amazing is how similar so much of the dialogue is to today. All the same buzzwords, all the same catchphrases, all the same double standards, and all the same reasoning still apply. There's the barely black lady who has to tell everyone just how black she is and how she's the only one qualified to talk about certain topics.
First of all, I wouldn't even know you were black if you didn't tell me.
I'm African American regardless of my skin color or my hair or my clothes or my attitude, and I think I'm the only one on the stage who's qualified to talk about the meaning of the word, how it hurts, how it doesn't hurt.
There's the claim that you can only make ethnic jokes within your own ethnic group.
If you want to talk about the Jewish community and make jokes about them, that's fine. That's fine. But once you start making about other ethnic groups, there's a different element that comes into place.
There's even a stump speech straight out of Hillary Clinton's campaign.
Because racism and sexism and other deplorable attitudes and behavior is so prevalent in our society, we have to talk. I'm tired of talking about this.
So I don't see times changing in the way Sarah describes. I see roles changing. In this circumstance, Sarah is on trial for an allegedly racist joke she made. In today's circumstance, Sarah is calling for the trial of someone who made very similar comments. What's changed here isn't time. What's changed here is speech Sarah doesn't like versus speech Sarah does. But let's back up and get the context here. Sarah is on Bill's show to defend a joke she made on Conan O'Brien's show. A joke about Asians.
It's a joke about getting a jury duty notice, and you got to fill out this form, and you send it in, and you're randomly selected, and I don't want to do jury duty.
No one does.
So I'm filling out the form, and my friend said, why don't you write something really inappropriate, like I hate chinks, you know? And I'm thinking, yeah, but when you think about it, I don't want people to think that of me. You know, I just want to get out of jury duty. So I just filled out the form, and I wrote, I love chinks.
I admit that joke got me to laugh when I heard it. You can decide if you find it funny or not. But what's important here is I don't see how that joke is somehow morally superior to anything I've ever heard Milo say. In fact, I can't even remember Milo using racial slurs. If he does at all, it's very rarely. And these social justice activists threw everything they could at Sarah to demonstrate how morally inferior she is. Sarah, you used an unacceptable word.
Calling a Chinese person a chink is the same thing as calling a black person nigger.
Absolutely.
This is the way we take it, and we don't think that racial slurs should be used in this kind of off-the-cuff kind of way. What she could have said, I hate Chinese people, I love Chinese people, would have gone, okay, funny joke, haha.
The whole point of the joke is to say something outrageous to get out of jury duty. The punchline is lost if you say, why, yes, I am fit to serve, but I must disclose I prefer the company of people of Asian descent. But you know, Sarah, this is all part of a broader trend of vicious racism I observe in my imagination every day.
I can't tell you how many times I'm at a dinner table or I'm playing golf or whatever, and I have to hear someone say, oh, he really Jewed me down on that, or he was slow as a nigger, or look at that beaner run, and then I have to say,
Who are you hanging out with?
who do you hang out with? God, let me tell you.
I hate racism so much that I hang out with the most racist people imaginable, which is convenient because she imagined all of those scenarios she just described. They're not real. But you know, Sarah, one time a crazy person made a violent attack using the word that you said. So you should accept some responsibility in promoting violence.
An Asian American student was stabbed to death. He was of Chinese descent, and the assailant wrote chink on his car.
17-year-old boy, Kenneth Chu, being stabbed to death. And they found on the back of his car, etched, chink.
It all could have been prevented if only Sarah Silverman hadn't said that magic word. But at least Bill was able to sort it out.
It is a cheap political trick to somehow link that horrific crime to a joke.
And what are Sarah's defenses? Well, she's illuminating taboo topics others feel intimidated to discuss because of the very intimidation we're observing on this stage.
I feel that joke is a joke that points a finger at racism, just like it's your job to point your finger at racism. And I think that it's inappropriate and it's counterproductive to demand an apology for someone who, like you, is illuminating racism just for doing it in a different way that you do it.
And doing so is important because it provokes thought rather than shutting it down.
There's a different element that comes into place with this thing.
Yeah, it provokes thought.
Sounds like a line of reasoning straight out of the book Sarah is now protesting.
If my rudeness creates conversation, my rudeness provokes people into, first of all, saying, oh, what a monster, blah, 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 and then 20% of people start talking about what I was actually saying, I will consider my career to have been a terrific success.
But back then, especially considering the panel was stacked against her, I thought Sarah did a great job. She stuck to her case, she didn't apologize, and at the end, she even had the balls to throw another joke right back in this guy's face.
You know what? There are only 2 Asian people I know that I don't like. One is you, and the other is...
I'm hurt.
Yeah, and the other is my friend Steve, who actually went pee-pee in my Coke.
I have brought great dishonor to my family by laughing at that joke. If you don't get it, she's referencing that classic, albeit distasteful, children's joke.
Me Chinese, me play joke, me go pee-pee in your Coke.
But somehow, Sarah, you've changed. It's not the times, it's not the context. The fact pattern between you in 2001 and Milo today is effectively identical. It's just 2001 Sarah has personal politics you do like, and 2017 Milo has personal politics you don't. That's the only difference, and it's enough to get you to switch teams and become the very guy you claimed back then to dislike. You've become the guy who gets to define what's satire and what's not.
If you don't know how to do satire correctly, you run the risk of making people think that you really believe what you're saying. And until you know how to do satire correctly, I'd stay away from it.
Who gets to define what's comedy and what's not. Who must be consulted about feelings before words can be said or published.
I can make fun of all these people. What do you ask us how we feel about it? We'll tell you if it's okay or not.
I understand this perspective, coming from a babysitter, or a kindergarten teacher, or my mom to me when I was 5. But from a comedian, if safety and caution and hypersensitivity are your thing, I think you picked the wrong profession. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Twitter. That is at MattC_on_YT. You're always welcome to come hang out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.